Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Welcome to the Ango show. It is April 3rd, 2025. I apologize for a little bit of a delay in the start of the show. We were just going through some technical issues, and those are bound to happen. I mean, we've had such a great streak of no technical issues, and then we finally had some technical issues, but it's okay. We got it all worked out. I think I fixed it permanently, so that's going to be good. My name is Ango. I'm joined by Billy TKO. Today we're talking AEW Dynamite. Plus, there's some stuff that we're going to be discussing from the news cycle that I would love to talk about. Yesterday, Billy, was an interesting conversation. We talked a lot about NXT. We talked a little bit about AEW. We talked about WWE. And then, as you know, I have been praising AEW this past month. I would say 4 to 5 weeks of television has been relatively good. There was one thing I absolutely did not like about AEW Dynamite last night, and then everything else was relatively awesome.
Okay, can you please run down what it is, that thing you didn't like, because we may actually agree on it.
I'm not going to break it down just yet because we are going to introduce ourselves to the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Ango Show. Thank you for spending your day with us. As always, it's always a fun thing. I really enjoy just coming out here. We're shooting the shit. We're talking. And we really, really want to build something special here. And I feel like we're still in the early stages of it, of course. But it's been really awesome to see kind of some of the things that we've been doing. I'm going to take the mic condom off just because I think it is so distracting to me, honestly. And it just makes my microphone look so much bigger. But yeah, no, honestly, I feel like the Ango Show live is a really fun experience, man. And I look at the chat every time, and I see a lot of you guys are the same people showing up. So I just want to say thank you guys. If you could just do me a big favor, a really, really big favor. There's two things I'm going to ask you guys for. Right now, we're only at 15 likes, but we have way more viewers. So if you guys can just slap that like button for me, it is really appreciated because it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. It just means that you're willing to support us, and I really do appreciate that as we try to build upon the show. Nobody else is really at this time slot. I enjoy being at this time slot, and I want to keep it going long term. So if you guys could just do me that solid favor of liking the video. I hate asking for likes and comments and stuff. It's really annoying.
Just those things are so appreciated.
Absolutely. And then, of course, one thing I did want to point out, yesterday, Phil and I were actually looking at this. So shout out to Phil for helping me with this. One of the biggest concerns that people had when it came to donating. So I want to just share this with you guys because you guys are very, very awesome at dropping super chats and driving the conversation forward. If you guys want to drop a super chat, it guarantees that your questions get read on the stream. 1000% will read your questions, your comments, your criticisms, your praises, whatever it may be. You could even use that as a way to talk shit to me if you want. I don't really care. But super chats do help drive the conversation forward. Now, lately you guys may have noticed that I've put a donation link in the chat. And the donation link in the chat is not a super chat, but it benefits the show a lot more because YouTube takes such a big cut out of super chats. And me and Phil actually identified two things. Now, originally, one thing that somebody told me was hey, I want to leave you a tip. And they were trying to leave a $10 or $15 tip. And one of the issues that they had was it was only PayPal accessible. That's been changed. So we have enabled where you could just put in your debit or credit card. It's no different than doing a super chat. However, YouTube doesn't take a cut out of this. Stream Elements hosts the link. And then basically you guys could drop a tip. And we don't have to wait 30 days to get paid out on it. We don't have to have... excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you, sir. You don't have to wait 30 days on this. And then on top of that, all you got to do when you go to the link, it is completely safe. So if you guys do want to drop a tip, it is completely safe. You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to have PayPal. You can use your debit or credit card. And you can include a message within your tip. So just like super chats, I'll read these if you guys drop them. All you got to do is literally just connect your YouTube account to it to log in. And then that's all you literally got to do. So if you guys want to help out, that would be awesome. It's always appreciated when that is being done. It is what it is, right? That or a super chat, we got our goal active. and I'm super excited. I don't want to spend too much time talking about that kind of stuff, but I will be reminding you guys because a lot of people did notice. They're like, "Hey, I don't have PayPal, man. I can't do this." And then that's why they were doing super chats. But then at the same time too, they were like, "Hey, we want to be able to help you, so you actually do get the benefit of it." So now it's out there, it's public. We're talking about it. Billy, let's talk about AEW Dynamite.
Yeah, come on, let's do it.
Did you do a watch along yesterday?
Yeah, I did. You were there.
I know, buddy. Come on, just let's talk, buddy. You don't have to, brother. You don't gotta.
You were there. You were there.
I know, but it was just kind of disappointing because I was expecting to see Phil on the show, and then I didn't get to see Phil on the show.
Dude, I told you what happened. Me and Phil, we were on Discord. We were trying to figure it out. Something got messed up along the way. We're trying to make it to where Phil can join Wednesday's watch-alongs. That's the goal here. But we did end up having a really good watch-along. We talked a lot about sports yesterday on the watch-along. We were talking AEW, but it turned into a conversation of sports. They told me I look like Troy Polamalu. All these different types of things.
I don't know who be saying that, but
with the hair down, apparently I do. That's what they say, not me.
I don't know about that one, buddy, but hey,
I look good. What can I say?
Come on, man. All right, let's get back on track, huh? What'd you think of AEW Dynamite? Honestly, like honest to God, from top to bottom, what's your thing? Because you said you had a thing, I have a thing, and we'll talk about that thing. But just overall, what was your vibe of the show?
So the vibe of the show, 8 out of 10. Hands down, really good show. Didn't hate it. Thought it moved forward things that it needed to move forward. Actually looking forward to Dynasty. Although I know some people feel a little bit differently. That's okay. We're allowed to have a difference of opinions. AEW Dynasty seems like it's going to be good. I really like Will Ospreay, Kevin Knight. I'm a very, very big fan of the main event. Swerve and Mox. Very excited for that. We also, you got the Women's Owen Cup. That'll be exciting. So just a lot to look forward to there. But overall, when it comes to Dynamite yesterday, really big fan of the ending. I really loved, if we're going to just start with the loves, the love was, just what Swerve and Hangman did yesterday was tremendous storytelling. Like that is amazing, and that's good TV. You know what I'm saying? Like what they put out yesterday with the "you burned my house down" and he said you deserved it, and then I know it felt like poetic, and it was just you're starting to see their human side more, and you kind of seen on Hangman's face just that like, oh man, like did I mess up? And again, beforehand you almost seen it, with Christopher Daniels and everything with Hangman, retiring him and all this. It was just really cool to see Swerve's human side come out first. I was a huge fan of it, but I gave the show an 8 out of 10. Ango, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it was a solid show. It's weird because I like the show. I'm not saying I didn't like the show. I think it's so weird for Dynamite to be lesser quality than Collision. I do feel like Collision. I think Collision is just a better show. I don't know how to explain it. I don't really know the specifics of what it is. I haven't really thought about that. I tend to enjoy Collision a lot more. However, what I will say is Dynamite was good. I don't know if it was good enough for a go-home show. And I think this is a thing that like isn't really being talked about a lot, but I do think the go-home show should have ended. I don't know. I feel like the show should have ended in a bang. Like, yeah, like let me explain. When I watched Dynamite last night, and it's a go-home show, and I'm watching from A to Z, I feel like you start off hot and you end off hot, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when I say end with a bang, I'm not talking like the final segment, the final match, the final minutes. I'm saying end with a bang where everything on the show is like, okay, now I gotta buy the pay-per-view. And I think AEW struggles with this a lot. A lot, to be honest. But I still enjoyed the show, if that makes sense. I'm not saying the show wasn't bad. I'm not saying it was bad. I'm just saying it didn't, to me, feel like a go-home show. You seem to be very disgruntled about that.
A tad bit. Just, I guess, questioning, like, what did you want them to do? Like, they really pushed forward with the Mox storyline and then playing into the Hangman thing. I don't know exactly what else they could have done. If you could elaborate.
I mean, it's just making things feel a little bit more exciting, I guess. I don't know.
That wasn't exciting to you?
The Mox thing?
The end. I'm talking about the end because that's what you were pinpointing at.
No, I'm pinpointing the entire show, not feeling like a go-home show.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay. That's different. That's different. So there, if you're speaking in that term, there were some things that, of course, could have been a little bit better. I think that's with any show, quote unquote. You know what I'm saying? Any go-home show or whatever the case is. Not everything is going to hit for every single person, but again, that's why we say there's some things for others, that just tend to work. Like I'll say, like the Big Bill squash match automatically getting a tag team championship. Like, I don't know if I like that. You know what I'm saying? But again, they've been telling that story, so it's like, can you be mad at it? Just because it's not for me doesn't necessarily mean that somebody else won't appreciate it. And I don't know who's appreciating it, but whoever is, props to you.
Yeah.
But of course, there are like things like not seeing Kenny Omega on the show. You know what I mean? Not seeing the Speedball and Ricochet and furthering that. Like I didn't like that. You know what I mean? So there are some things that I can understand out of that for sure.
And maybe that's something that they could do on Collision too. And I know that they're trying to make Collision better, so maybe they are saving some of these things for Collision. And that's why.
And if that's the case, that's okay.
That's fine with me. I'm not going to complain about that. But I'm just saying, typically speaking, like for a go-home show, it's kind of weak in terms of excitement. In terms of pushing stories forward and things like that, yes, of that nature, I do think that is a relatively good thing.
So when you're pinpointing one match, and I think they really focused on Swerve and Mox, I think when you put a lot of your focus on that, and granted, it is a really good storyline, right? We could both agree on that, correct?
Between Swerve and Mox?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's a good storyline.
You're out of your mind.
No, I'm not. See, the thing is, I'm not out of my mind, and the reason why I'm not out of my mind, Billy, is because I think Moxley and this World Championship thing is a dud. I think people are calling it a good storyline because we just genuinely want Swerve to get the fucking title off of Mox. I don't think people are genuinely enjoying this type of story. Isn't really like some grand thing with tons of elements into it.
Nobody's saying it, and nobody's saying that it has to be super deep or super. It doesn't have to be that.
Okay, so what makes this a great story in your eyes?
It's
connect me. Sell me the story. Sell me the story, Billy. That's what I want you to do.
It's the point.
What's the point?
Simply that.
Oh, the point that they're having a match
to get Swerve the title. Yes, absolutely. But not only that, it's.
No, please. The floor is yours, Billy. Continue.
It's that grand of Swerve realizing everything that he's done. Swerve coming to grips with all of those bad things that he did before and having
that doesn't have to do with Mox, though.
Again, the story isn't necessarily about Mox. Yes, you could. Mox is the bad guy.
But you're telling me it's the story. Hold on. No.
He's the villain here. He's the villain here. So he's the one who is, telling Swerve that he can't do it. Again, it's just one of those easy feel-good storylines that you could simply get behind. And if you are trying to say that it's not Ango, you are out of your mind.
So we're supposed to sympathize with Swerve Strickland is what you're saying.
In some degree, yes. That's like the
what have they done in the past year that makes you sympathize with Hangman Page?
With Hangman?
I'm sorry, with Swerve. My bad. What have they done? Where is this idea?
They've told me the story. They've told me the story, and yesterday that was very, very good. It was
all right, so sell it to me.
Now I sympathize. Now I sympathize with him.
Why do you sympathize? But why?
Because he's realizing his wrongs. He's rewriting his wrongs. That's why he deserves the AEW World Championship. He is going to be the quote-unquote savior from the Death Rider storyline that everybody seems to bitch about.
Oh, so it's not actually what you're telling me is it's not really the story that's good. It's just we want him to win the belt off of Mox.
Regardless, that is the story. That is the story. Mox is just the villain. Oh my goodness gracious.
Oh, Billy, I think you're getting a little worked up, but let me explain something to you. I think this is a fun conversation. This is fun. This is great. Good stuff, buddy. Listen, let me just tell you exactly the issue here because as I said, I enjoyed the episode. But there is not really layers to Mox and Swerve in any capacity. And sure, Swerve,
there doesn't have to be layers. You're trying to break down something that doesn't need to be broken down.
So why doesn't it need to be broken down? Because you just said, hold on.
Everybody has complained about Mox in this championship. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm one of them.
right.
I'm one of them. My hand goes up.
Yes. You want Mox to get rid of that championship. You don't want him to have it anymore. You want AEW to fix that problem. They're doing it in front of your face. The story is simple. You sympathize with Swerve Strickland. You understand that he is a human being. And other than that, there is nothing more that this story needs. And then they go and tell the Hangman Swerve story that everybody wants at the end of the day, right? It's what everybody's complained about. It's what everybody has bitched about. It is what everybody has got on the internet, moaned, complained, done everything under the sun about. It's a very, very simple tactic.
Yeah, I think the intrigue is not because of Swerve and Mox having a great storyline. I think the interest is just simply because Mox's storyline has sucked so bad that we are so desperate for a change.
Yes, for sure. We absolutely want change.
Okay, thank you for proving my point.
That's not proving your point, though.
You just did, though, because you said it doesn't need layers and stuff like that. Because
it doesn't. We want change. It does not need all these crazy layers. Where is that proving your point? Please explain.
Chat, am I right or am I wrong right now? Did Billy literally just say we sympathize with him because of the fact that we want him to win the belt because we're tired of Mox? That literally just came out of Billy's mouth.
What was it?
That we sympathize. You sympathize with Swerve because of the fact that we don't want the being. Okay, because they have 2,000 other human beings signed to their company. Then, so you're you're telling me that any person could have been in his.
I'm not sympathizing with Swerve because I want the title to be off Mox that bad. I'm sympathizing with Swerve because that's the story that they're telling, and that Mox just so happens to be the human being with the championship. But I sympathize with Swerve because, again, that's the story that they're telling me. And he's just a human being who is rewriting his wrongs.
So he's rewriting his wrongs, so that's why you sympathize with him. You sympathize with a guy who's done many bad things, and because he's done many bad things and he's changing tune, you sympathize with him.
Absolutely, because people are allowed to make mistakes. They're allowed to be human. I mean, granted, some of those mistakes may have been horrible, whatever, but he's a human being at the end of the day, and everybody deserves a second chance. Ango, have you lived life?
No, I have not. I don't touch grass, buddy. I don't know what you're talking about. No, I think it's funny. I think you're really funny with this because I think the reality is that you sympathize with Swerve based on the interaction that he had with Hangman.
Based off just life in general, because that's all I needed. Like, I didn't necessarily need anything else because that I know.
Okay,
right?
but I'm asking you specifically, just so we can. I just want to make sure I understand you correctly.
Yes.
So you're telling me that Swerve and Moxley is a great storyline.
Brian McCaddy super chatted $5. Swerve equals babyface. Learned his lesson, repenting forever ways to face the heel Mox. Then after Mox, he faces the heel Hangman.
Okay, Brian McCaddy, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. We are going to read that in just a second. We were interrupted by the type to speech. So, Billy, yes. I just want to make sure, really quick, I hear you. What I really want to do is understand you. Let's take Hangman out of the equation. What was specifically done last night with Swerve and Mox? Because I just want to understand you. That sold you on this match. Specifically from last night, what was said, what was done, in your opinion, that said, wow, this is really good.
So let's go back to last week in the promo battle that they had.
I don't want to go back to last week.
We have to.
I don't want to. I don't want
the story.
I know. I understand. But we're not talking about last week's episode. Really quick, I just want to talk about last night specifically.
Okay, last night. Willow Nightingale, Swerve Strickland, Mox, Marina Shafir.
Yeah.
Tornado tag, right?
Yes.
Okay. So they have that match. Willow ends up getting beat down by Mox with her neck. You know her neck problems, correct? Yeah. Swerve is now coming to be that quote-unquote savior to Willow, right? Because after that match, she goes on, she's got really bad neck problems, and he's back there, and he's vowing that he's going to he's going to put his hands on Mox tonight. He could promise us that, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Fast forward a little bit longer later in the night. He's going out and he's talking to Renee, Moxley's wife, right? We all know that. We're not dumb.
Yeah.
So he's talking to Renee. He says, Renee, I'm sorry for this, but I'm looking for your husband. I got to put my hands on him because of the things that he just did to Willow. And knowing of Willow's problems, right? And everything that she's dealt with, I got to find him. I have to be that savior now. Again, rewriting your wrongs, correct?
Yeah.
Because beforehand, you were a piece of shit. You were all of these things. But now it's a little bit of a different story. I got to rewrite these wrongs. Willow has neck problems. Mox is messing with that. I got to do something about it. I got to do the right thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and then to further the storyline, he ends up getting attacked after the Hangman situation because remember, we're taking that out of the equation, correct?
Mm-hmm.
He gets taken out by the Death Riders,
Yep.
right? They put him through the glass, the whole nine, and the last shot that you see, and if you told me that you hated this shot, I would believe you're out of your mind. This shot in particular, not the whole segment. You can hate the segment, I don't care. But the shot of him sitting up with glass in his back and just staring them down, that feels like champion to me.
Mm-hmm.
That feels like the guy who is ready to take out Mox because of all the shit that these Death Riders have done. It's very simple. I don't know what's so hard about that.
Okay, now let me present to you why I said it doesn't have the layers, because everything that you keep saying points to to being able to sympathize with Swerve, right? Now, when you look at the initial storyline of the Death Riders, and that's why I didn't want you to go back in time just yet, because we have to. I want to wait.
Yeah, that's fine.
What you just said is valid, fair, but what you need to realize is that the initial thing with the Death Riders was them coming into place, taking over the company and saving it from evil. Now, Makes, Maekz in the chat, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, he says, you don't need a story for that. He got a title shot and that's it. So here's what I'm trying to say to you. This is what I'm trying to say to you. I don't sympathize with Swerve Strickland because Swerve Strickland isn't the almighty babyface in AEW. Okay? Now, there's a reason why so many people wanted Darby Allin to win the title. Because Darby Allin has always been the AEW guy. He's always been the babyface. He is the life and savior of AEW. He is a four-pillar. He's, this is the thing. When you look at what the Death Riders were trying to save AEW from.
But Darby Allin's gone. Why are we using him as an example?
I'm going to give you... Thank you. Yeah, Billy, let's go. You want to be argumentative? Let's be argumentative.
Yeah.
Why?
Yes,
why am I bringing up Darby? Because we've known for a while that Darby isn't on TV. So what they should have done was actually turn Swerve babyface a long time ago, rewriting his wrongs, and then chasing the belt.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so how can you sympathize with the person who all of a sudden just decided, recently to kind of rewrite his wrongs and get back into things?
Because that's human nature. What?
Okay, but human nature for a storyline of this magnitude completely shifted gears. The storyline is no longer about saving AEW from Death Riders. It's simply, hey, we're doing this because we need somebody to do it who's credible.
No, Ango, that's how you feel because that's how you watch TV. That's fair. There's nothing wrong with that. But the truth of the matter is that it's literally the same storyline that you just explained, just with a new person. That's it. How you watch TV...
How's Darby Allin? Has Darby Allin even been heel in AEW?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so when Cody Rhodes, for example, came into WWE, he came back, right? And he was facing adversity and he was going for the chase. Cody wasn't a heel, right? Cody was consistently babyface. It was pretty well planted in WWE that Cody was a babyface and he's like the next John Cena, right? So then he goes through all this adversity and then, hold on, he saves the company from this bloodline storyline that's gone too long, right?
Yeah.
It's a new era, babyface rejoices, right? Now, I'm just saying, in my opinion, the reason why I'm not bought into Swerve and Jon Moxley as a storyline was because exactly what was said in the chat. Swerve wasn't put in this position because, I'm here to save AEW. He just won a match that guaranteed him the #1 contendership. Now, what I will argue with you, though, and this is where I think me and you will 100% agree, is that Swerve Strickland should in fact beat Jon Moxley so we can get away from the mess of the Death Riders. Because as you have just heard, I literally just exposed the fact that the Death Rider storyline has completely shifted. And so because of that, they need to get away from the stink that the Death Riders have had because there's too many inconsistencies. So now, what is the real storyline to make? You said it earlier, Hangman Page and Swerve. I put it in the title. Swerve and Hangman Page are saving AEW. To me, this is that massive story. Now, people in the chat are saying, well, why'd you bring up Cody? Because we're talking about sympathy. The reason why people sympathized with Cody Rhodes was because every single time he faced adversity, every single time he was in this chase, and there's a big point to this, by the way. Every single time that Cody was in that big chase, he kept getting held back. He kept getting screwed over. He kept facing all this adversity that caused them to basically fall short. And it created this idea where people actually sympathized for him because we know how important it was to finish the story. We know what it means to his legacy, winning the title his dad never won, whatever. So why did I bring up Cody? Was because when you look at the initial statement that Death Riders had, the person beating the Death Riders should be a guy who literally eats, sleeps, breathes, lives AEW. It should have been somebody from AEW that is an AEW talent, not somebody that came from WWE. It should have been somebody who truly believed in the AEW vision and Tony Khan, right? Because this was a takeover of the company. Jon Moxley doesn't like the way AEW and everybody backstage does things, blah, 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 blah. And now we are watching Swerve Strickland, who, by the way, I want Swerve to win the belt, but I can't sympathize with Swerve because to me, you're looking at a storyline where your typical babyface who is saving the company, this is not the person for that. This isn't the storyline for that, but you have to pivot. And that's my point. If AEW, and I'm going to use a name just as an example when I talk about the level of how they could have done it. I'm just using a name because it's the first one that comes to my mind. I'm not saying him specifically should have beat Moxley. And by the way, I don't really like Darby Allin. So Darby Allin's in the same conversation. But like Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin, these guys are like homegrown AEW talent, right? Imagine if, and I'm just using these names hypothetically, because quite frankly, I don't think both of them are ready for world championships. But my point that I'm making is that AEW does have a plethora of guys who are AEW talents that could have been positioned as that white meat baby face where everybody actually would have sympathized with them. Nobody is sympathizing with Swerve because he's human nature. He's changing his tone.
Have you read your chat? Nobody's doing that? Nobody's sympathizing with him?
I don't think people. Do you know what it means to actually sympathize with a person? You have to feel bad for that person. What do you feel bad about with Swerve?
Because of all the things that has currently happened. It's the revelation. It's realizing, right? You could feel bad for somebody from all of the wrong that they did. I don't understand what's so hard to grasp about that. Swerve has gone through so much like in his own head, right? Mentality wise, right? As somebody who struggles mentally, myself included, right? I struggle with mental shit all day, every day, right? It's real life. There's real life to this. And what they're doing, and you're absolutely right, they did have to, switch the tone of the way that this story was being told. And God forbid, has anybody ever, switched the way a storyline was being told? Come on now. It's okay. Those things happen, right? Now, the way you go about telling the story is one thing. And what they're doing now is they're figuring out how to tell this story. And they've done a really good job by making people realize, like, hey, you're allowed to mess up in life. You're allowed to be a piece of shit sometimes. You're allowed to do that. And overall, people will sympathize with you as long as you're trying to see the light. It's a very human nature thing. It's always been like that. That is like how human beings work. And Swerve is just realizing and coming back from all of those wrongs. That's why the Hangman thing last night was so important. That's why that mattered. That's why that pushed how this story is, quote unquote, being told into another dimension, another realm, because they needed to have that happen. Swerve had to say that for people to fully digress and be like, oh my God, there he is. He's a human being.
Yeah.
Right? Now I want him to win more. It's a mentality thing. It's nothing less than that. And if you can't sympathize with a person because they're realizing the mental things that they've done, then I think there might be something wrong. And I'm not saying you in particular, but anybody, right, may have a problem.
I think a human nature thing that people don't really look into, and this will become like a very, very long conversation, but I think people are who they are. And a good quote that I heard is, once somebody shows you their true colors, all they ever end up doing is just showing you a different shade later on.
And that's all we will disagree on, because I do believe that people are able to change, and I believe that they are able to come back from those. Even in my personal life, I could fully disagree with you on that.
Yeah. I think the storyline is fucked up because the Death Riders storyline is fucked up, to be honest. I think the Death Riders thing has caused a lot of... I don't think there was truly... a really good plan long term for that story. I think with the Death Riders, I think that's why they've put me in this position where, like, yes, I want Swerve to win, but I don't want Swerve to win because I like Swerve. I mean, I think Swerve, and let's be very clear here. It's not, oh my God, I'm sympathizing with Swerve. I really think Swerve is the best. I think Swerve is the best option at this current time to press the reset button. And the reason for that, as I've stated in previous streams, Billy, you recall this, I said, get the belt off Mox, press the reset button, and give it to Samoa Joe or Swerve Strickland or MJF or somebody who we know that can actually carry it and get this company back on track. So... Or as I've said before, Hangman Page. Now it's obvious they have continuously planted the seeds when it comes to Hangman and Swerve. Now that's the real storyline here. That storyline actually, in my opinion, completely decimates everything else that's with this Death Rider thing. And I've said this before, and this is the problem when you keep a bad storyline going on too long. It's gotten to the point where, like, even when Cope was winning or challenging for the belt, what was my criticism then? Why would I want Cope to win the belt? What is this guy to AEW? He spent 20-something years in WWE. Like, to me, it's always, you have a company takeover. The person who should be saving the company from the takeover is somebody who is, eats, sleeps, breathes, is a true AEW guy through and through. And I'm not willing to admit that Swerve is that guy, even though I'd like him and I think he's good. And it's like part of the reason why, even though I don't think Darby Allin will be a great world champion, it would have been a better storyline for the sake of the Death Riders. Now let's move past the Death Riders for a second. Because I do think the Death Rider storyline is just that bad. I don't care what anybody says. Even the stuff with him and Willow was awesome. And I'm not taking away from that, but I think overall the storyline has been a dud. I don't think it was carefully planned out. And I think what really ended up happening was, and we'll see, because maybe Swerve doesn't even win, right? But I think one of the biggest things that you have to acknowledge here is Darby Allin, who is beloved by the AEW fans. He's going to choose to do Mount Everest. Like, that should have been a conversation where Tony Khan is a boss and says, hey, Darby, like, we're ready to put the belt on you, and we have to put the belt on you. Like, we are setting you up for the infamous babyface chase, and you will save this company from a takeover storyline. I don't believe Darby Allin's world championship contender, but the audience loves Darby Allin. I would have preferred that much more.
Listen, we can agree that the Death Rider storyline in general has took a turn. It's pivoted, right? We can fully agree on that. I'm fully aware of that. I'm not even being naive to that, right? I also can agree that in some places it has been very, very bad. I can also agree with that. But I can also understand that sometimes things change. Right? And that's just what has happened. And it's either you're willing to accept it or you're not. And if you're not, I mean, hey, that's your personal opinion. You're allowed to feel that way. Yeah. Right? But overall, my thought process is I'm a fan of this story. I'm a fan of where it's going. I'm a fan of what they've done. I can sympathize with Swerve. That's just how I feel. And that's okay.
Brian McCaddy's super chat, by the way, was a $5 super chat. He says, Swerve equals babyface, learned his lesson, repenting for evil ways to face the heel Mox. Then after Mox, he faces the heel Hangman, which is true. Now, what I will argue, though, and what I will say is a very, very big deal, because I do believe the Swerve and Hangman thing is arguably the greatest thing that AEW has done. And it just so happens that two of my most favorite AEW storylines that have ever existed include Hangman Page. Now, it is interesting because Brian does point out the fact that he will face a heel Hangman. However, you have to wonder if that is the right choice. And the reason why I suggest this, and the reason why I'm bringing this up, Billy, is because do you notice how hard it is to think of a white meat babyface that is like AEW's Lord and Savior? Like, and I hate to bring up Cody Rhodes again, or even TNA has Joe Hendry, but both of them are like those guys for WWE and TNA, right? I don't think AEW has that. And I think this is where it becomes subjective. I don't think Swerve is that guy just yet. I don't think so. I don't think they've done enough to make him that top babyface in the company. But I do think the two guys that can arguably be the best babyface champions for this company at a time where they need it is Will Ospreay or Hangman Page. So do you agree that Hangman should be heel?
In some regards, I can see why in this storyline they could go that direction, because if you listen, Swerve is rewriting his wrongs. Hangman is trying to see those wrongs. Sometimes, not everybody can notice them or admit to them. And in this place, this is where that could potentially be happening. So Swerve is seeing his, Hangman is trying, and sometimes you try, and then you try some more. Ultimately, you can't figure it out.
Super chatted $5. Yeah. Swerve versus Hangman, been there, done that, done with it, move on, we don't need it, see it again.
Quick shout out, actually. Thank you, Brian McCaddy, for the super chat. Sorry.
For sure.
Just a couple shout outs that I want to give. Keith B dropped a super chat, but he also joined the memberships within the channel. So shout out to Keith B. He dropped a $5 super chat. He says Swerve versus Hangman's been there, done that. With it, been there, done that, done with it. Move on, or we move on. We don't need to see it again. So let me ask you, because I actually disagree with Keith. And Keith, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for joining the memberships. I do appreciate that. I think one of the things that AEW has always struggled with, and this was something that was a Vince McMahon issue in booking, is sometimes forgetting about things that have happened in the past. This is one of those stories where everything that happened in the past could be revisited.
Exactly. It's all coming back to light.
It's a blood feud. It's I mean, it's a very, very, very good storyline. Now,
if you look back at Hangman and Kenny, it was kind of the same feel.
Yes. However, one thing where I will agree with Keith somewhat is, let's say All In. I'm assuming this is where it'll take place. All In. I don't think AEW would be dumb enough to rush it for Double or Nothing.
No, Double or Nothing, no.
But I think if you are going to do Swerve and Hangman one more time, that's it. For sure. That's closing the chapter. And what I would actually like to argue, and this is maybe something that I feel strongly about, I am going to be so honest when I say this, and I know some people are not going to like this, but Hangman Page could be that Cody Rhodes for AEW. He could be that top babyface for this company that they desperately need. They need it. This is a company that needs it. I would argue at All In, Swerve goes in as champion and they do the double turn.
I wouldn't argue that. I wouldn't be mad at that.
I would think that would be the most necessary move. Hangman Page and Swerve, because I think Swerve, and you could set it up, by the way, because of what Billy said from yesterday, where Swerve is, he's righting his wrongs and stuff. But as I said, human nature, people show you their true colors, and the only thing that changes is the shade. So imagine what kind of story arc that could be for Swerve, where he is righting his wrongs, he's trying to, but then deep down inside, he is really a sick, sadistic piece of shit fuck who ends up, trying to beat Hangman Page. They do the double turn, and then Hangman walks out victoriously.
So, go on. My bad. Joe Naj. Sorry, chap. So, the real side of that is we see it the same way, right? We just see it in a different way. You just see Hangman
what? We see it in the same way, but then we see it in a different way? What?
I'm talking about Hangman and Swerve. Because you see it as, Swerve ultimately being that sadistic guy, and he can't, face those fears. I would actually disagree and say that I think it's Hangman that can't see that. Right? Because of everything that Hangman's gone through, and he's still fighting those demons, right? In the back of your mind. So I hear you in Hangman potentially being, the quote unquote top guy. But I think that they've done, and whether you want to believe it or not, Swerve had a really good run as world champion, right? We could agree on that.
100%. That's why I said he should be a champion.
Sure.
Yeah.
For sure. He had a really good run as a champion. So with that being said, how I would view it is that I actually think Swerve does have a potential to be the top babyface in this company. I think he is very good when it comes to his microphone skills. I think he's very good when it comes to press. I think he's very good when it comes to speaking. I think that's a guy that you almost want to get behind, and you can call him a WWE talent. Yeah, he was, but at the end of the day, this guy has really came in a time where AEW really needed it and has really changed the trajectory of, how the stories are being told. I'm not going to say like he helped move ticket sales or anything like that, because genuinely he did not. And obviously we've seen that decline.
Yeah.
But overall, he played such an important factor at a time where they genuinely needed it. And if anybody is going to deny that, they'd be out of their mind. And I understand, right? Hangman is another guy who is AEW through and through, and you can make the same argument for him. I understand that, but at the end of the day, to just say that, like, Swerve is he shouldn't be a top guy. He shouldn't be that babyface. I find it asinine, because he's just played such an important role to me. This is just me genuinely speaking. So yeah, that's how I feel about the situation. I just think we view it a little bit backwards, right? I view it as Swerve could be the guy. You just think Hangman should be the guy.
Yeah, I think that's more of a subjective thing, and obviously you feel differently about it, which is fine. I'm not saying no. I think we need to agree for sure, though. I think we both agree that they need that top baby face. That
for sure, we can agree there. Absolutely.
Crazy, man, crazy. Shout out to Keith B for the super chat. Phil said he left a tip.
Uh-oh.
But I'm looking and I don't see it. So I just want to make sure that I'm not screwing our good friend Phil.
Shout out Phil.
Phil, did you do it in the link that's in the chat? The Stream Elements link. StreamElements.com/Ango/tip. And the reason why is because it's not showing anything other than True Styles, who left a tip. So that's why I am.
Dang, son.
I don't know. Maybe there's a delay in it.
Maybe.
Let me see. We will talk about the Hurt Syndicate and MJF, by the way.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see it, Phil. Let me just double check something.
I'm letting him do his thing. Do your thing, dog.
I don't know why. See, this is the way computers and shit work, bro. It's always
something, man. I didn't realize how long, guys. We were on that Swerve and Hangman topic for so long. I didn't realize how long we talked about that.
Oh, that's all right. Well, we also started a little bit of a delay. So, really quick, right. Phil, can you do me a favor? Just because I can't see it, but I want to be able to read it, can you send me a screenshot on Twitter? That is so strange. Yeah, it's not even showing up, and then I don't want people to do it if it's not working, but so strange, bro. And I haven't heard, I mean, even when I used it in the past, I haven't had issues like that. But I don't want to screw Big Bill Phil.
Big Bill Phil.
Silly Billy and Big Bill Phil. What a fun live stream that was yesterday.
Dude, that was great. I loved yesterday. Yesterday was awesome. Today's awesome. Come on now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Phil, send me a DM on Twitter, because you and I, obviously, we got each other on Twitter. Send me a screenshot of that if you can, and I'll get to it. It's just not showing up on here, and I don't know why, so that's like really strange. Really weird. And if there's an issue, then I gotta let them know that there's an issue, but Billy, let's talk about the Hurt Syndicate really quick.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
What you feeling?
I like the direction that they're going with it. With the MJF stuff. I'm not, like I said, the big bill squash match, getting a championship match. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
But no, the MJF stuff, I like the direction that it could go. I'm not exactly sure where it's going to go, but that's kind of the intriguing part about it, right? Is nobody really knows, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my thoughts. What are yours?
I think it's just setting up Cedric Alexander.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. How much longer does he have?
I don't think much longer. Let me see. When Cedric Alexander, was he even technically released? Yeah, he was.
Because he had a 90-day.
Yeah.
When did those cuts happen?
That's what I'm checking right now. February 7th.
Okay, so he's still got a little bit of time. So February 7th, March 7th, April 7th. That would be how many days? It'd be 60, right?
I'm not doing the mental math right now. But we'll see him probably by like May.
Ango don't do math. He doesn't sympathize. This guy is all over the place.
I don't sympathize. It's very rare that I sympathize.
That's crazy, bro.
Let me explain why. I do sympathize. I have a lot of sympathy for people. But in the real world, I think if you're a shitty human being, you're a shitty human being.
See, I fully disagree.
And I don't think
it
doesn't cost any money to be a good person. So
no, it doesn't.
There's really not an excuse to not be a good person.
I'm a full believer that people can change, though.
Yeah, I'm not.
I've experienced it. That's the only reason why I say it.
Yeah, that must be nice to experience. I haven't seen people change at all. I've seen people show their true colors.
Yeah, damn. Sounds like you got shitty people around you.
That's why I cut them all loose, baby. Keep a small circle. Yeah. That's how I do it.
Yeah.
Honestly, like that's the truth.
Fair. That's fair.
Yeah. I back to the MJF thing. Because you didn't like the squash match. I'm totally okay with the squash match. I advocate for squash matches all the time.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I thought it was like pointless, for them to go get a championship match after the squash match.
So that's my issue. That was my issue.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the one thing I actually hated though about Dynamite?
Yeah, because I've been wondering.
I know you've been wondering, and I don't know if it's the same thing as me.
Yeah, we're gonna find out.
I think this is a very good point that was made by JD and Jesse. I seen the clip earlier today. I haven't seen a clip. I haven't seen one. I seen this clip float around, and it made me think about something where I was like, damn, that's a very good point. And it also makes me realize that something I said in my video earlier today is completely like, fuck. I don't know if I necessarily agree with my original point. Because that's how good of a point it was.
Okay.
Jay White is out of the Owen Cup.
Yeah, because he's injured. Yeah. Going in for surgery.
Kevin Knight is in the Owen Cup.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
JD and Jesse, their point that they made was essentially... Oh, give me a second.
Yeah, you're good.
That was really strange. Oh, True Styles tipped $4.20. That's what I saw. That's what interrupted me. So shout out to True Styles. Thank you for that, brother. That's so crazy. That literally just like popped up right now as I was talking. So I didn't know what was going on with Phil's tip, but True Styles came in. So maybe there's a glitch or something. But basically, in my video, I was talking about Josh Alexander debuting and being part of the Owen Cup, right?
And being the wild card, correct?
Yes, yeah. Now, JD and Jesse's point was about Kevin Knight, who is relatively unknown compared to many others. And he's been signed for 7 days. What exactly, if you're trying to sell the Owen Cup as your company's heavy hitters going for a world championship opportunity, basically their point is, what has Kevin Knight done to get to that point?
That's fair. That's fair.
Which, to be fair, it made me think about the wild card being Josh Alexander. Now, to be fair, in my video, I did say I don't think Josh Alexander has to win the entire tournament, but I do think Josh Alexander should make it to the finals. And then they could start telling a great story.
But it makes you change. But it makes you change your mind on that.
Yes,
am I correct?
And the reason for that is
what has he done?
Yes, what has he done for AEW to earn that potential opportunity? And I do think, to JD and Jesse's credit, I do think both of them did a phenomenal job of making that point where Kevin Knight really hasn't done anything to get to that point.
Okay.
So, like they just had him signed. And then their belief, too, was that this was because of the report that came out that Kevin Knight chose not to do the WWE deal, didn't go to the Performance Center tryout thing. This is Tony Khan's way of saying, hey, look, this is what we're doing. And to be fair, that was the one thing I didn't like with last night's Dynamite. Like, that was the one thing I was like, damn, that's, Kevin Knight and Will Ospreay are great, bro. They do the tag team match stuff. Like, that's fine, whatever. But I think JD and Jesse had a very valid point. And I think that slot should have been, I think that slot should have been saved for somebody who's actually been like climbing the ranks and stuff. And I understand Pete Rocks just put in the chat. He says you can't have 8 of your top guys in the Owens. Someone has the job. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think what makes it such a great tournament, such a great tournament, is when you do have heavy hitters who are bound to lose. And I do think that Tony Khan does. This has always been a thing in AEW since day one. Tony Khan has also talked about this publicly. But I think, it's okay to have some of your top guys lose when you're putting them up against another top person. You know what I mean? If you're having a sport, if there's a sport, right, and you're watching the Los Angeles Lakers, who are number 1 seed, and the Pistons, who are number 1 seed, one team has to lose. Doesn't disqualify how good they are. They made it to the finals, right? I think with a star-studded tournament, I do think it should have been reserved. I don't know how I feel about the Owen Cup tournament. I think yesterday actually kind of derailed my excitement for it a little bit because I was looking at the brackets and I'm like, I feel like, and obviously Jay White not being in it now due to injury is terrible 2 years in a row. But I do think there are so many great quality guys that are quality wrestlers who should have been in that tournament. And that was actually the one thing I think last night derailed my excitement for the tournament. I thought everything else was very solid storytelling. I think everything that, if you look at it from the perspective of like the MJF Bobby Lashley thing, I love it. Penelope Ford and Tony Storm, I love it. I continue to be really good about that. I'm not really a big fan of Cope and FTR in AEW, but I like the fact that they're pushing the stories forward. So like overall AEW was really good. I do think the Owen Cup became very predictable. And I think looking at that bracket yesterday really showed me that like sometimes this is where predictability is bad,
Okay. I mean, I get it, right? I understand. I'm not going to sit here and argue that that was not what actually, but it did have something to do with the Owen Hart Cup tournament that kind of rubbed me wrong yesterday. And it actually had nothing to do with the men. Yeah. It had to do with the women's.
Okay.
And it was that Athena and Mercedes were in the same bracket on the same side.
I hate that too. Yeah.
I was not a fan of that. That actually rubbed me really wrong, considering, obviously trying to, I mean, you're going to put them in a semifinal match? That, it makes no sense.
Yeah, so really quick, when I say I hate it, I'm going to explain why I hate it, but it's not for the same reason you do. Okay. I hate the matchups that they're in to get there. Prior to. It's Harley Cameron versus Athena, Julia Hart versus Mercedes Moné. Julia Hart deserves better than to lose in the first round. And I think Harley Cameron deserves better to lose in the first round. I look at the other side of the bracket where you got Chris Statlander, Thunder Rosa, Billy Starks, and Jamie Hayter. I like that side. Jamie Hayter could beat Billy Starks. Billy Starks could beat Jamie Hayter. That could be a major shock. It could be a major win for Billy. What if you have Billy Starks in the finals versus Athena?
You could do that.
When everybody thinks, because the tournament finals at Double or Nothing, so when everybody thinks, oh, it's Athena versus Mercedes, right? Like, what if Athena steals the win, and then it's Billy Starks versus Athena, and then they officially break off? That's a possibility, right? So I like the fact that there is so much more unpredictability on this side of the bracket. On the other side of the bracket, I think Julia Hart is a very, very up-and-coming player for AEW. I don't like the fact that she's likely going to be fed to Mercedes, and I don't like the fact that...
we could agree with that. I could agree with that.
What I was going to say, and it kind of goes back to packing the tournaments with your stars, but I think it would have been much more cooler if they brought Britt Baker back into this. I think it would have been a lot better if they positioned, like honestly, like even because we don't see it, but like Nyla Rose being a former champion could have been in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like it would have been cool to see some of that in there, to be honest. It's just positioning people better, in my opinion. And I think the Owen Cup tournament for me, it's not. I agree with you. It's not that I don't hate the idea of Mercedes versus Athena in the semifinals, because I do think that's a star-studded match. That's a fun match. They're gonna be having several more matches, but I think these tournaments have kind of, even when you look at like Hangman Page being in the first round against the wild card. So what, would you have Hangman Page beat Josh Alexander if he's debuting? Like, is that really
a lot
fun?
of people think, I know a lot of people talked about it being Josh Alexander. I know another person that people brought up was Gabe Kidd potentially being the wild card.
Sure, but like, look how cool this is. You have Will Ospreay, Konosuke Takeshita, Mark Briscoe, Kyle Fletcher, Hangman Page. Yep. But then you have Brody King, Kevin Knight, and, you know, a wild card. And it's like, I don't think Brody King's going to beat Takeshita. I think it's going to be Takeshita versus Ospreay, right? I think it's pretty obvious.
Super chatted $10.
I don't
if
know.
There's anyone that I want to see win the title, it's Hangman. Sure, he can beat Swerve for it, but if he saved it from the Death Riders, I think it'd hit more, especially with the history he's had.
Phil dropping a $10 super chat. He says, there's anyone that I want to see win the AEW title, it's Hangman. Sure, he can beat Swerve for it, but if he saved AEW from the Death Riders, I think it'd hit more, especially with the history he's had. Yeah. I think Hangman is the blood of this company. I think he should be positioned as the blood of this company. He is the... Excuse me.
Bless.
I wish I could mute myself faster, but I can't. I think Swerve is just like, when you look at the Elite, and you can't take the Elite out of AEW, bro. But he's like the guy. Like, Cody's not there, man. But Hangman could be the guy that stepped up in that position. I don't know. To me, I'm sorry. I'm not gonna argue about this anymore, man. I feel like the thing with Hangman is this guy, and as great as his heel run has been, it really hasn't amounted to anything. It's been good content, but it really hasn't amounted to anything. And to me, it's like, okay, well, I wish they kind of changed tune and put him as a babyface. And sure. I don't know, man. I think Swerve is a great talent, but I don't think Swerve is like the ultimate babyface in this company. I just don't see it. I think there's I think Anthony Bowens could be a perfect example of somebody getting a massive singles push. You know, great spokesperson, great talented wrestler, been there from the beginning roughly. Like, yeah, I don't know. That's the way I kind of look at it, though, to be honest.
Yeah, like I said, that's fair. I disagree with you, but again, I don't want to keep going in circles with this. We're just going to have to agree to disagree on some things.
Yeah. Interesting. Oh, well. Shout out to...
well.
Wait, I don't know why I didn't pull that up on the screen. Sorry about that, Phil. Well, not that one. But for anybody who didn't know what we were talking about, that was Phil's super chat. So shout out to Phil for the $10 banger. Appreciate you, bro.
Big Bill Phil. Big Bill Phil.
Yeah, honestly, man, it was kind of and kind of relating to the Owen Cup thing, because you don't want to admit it or not. But if Swerve wins, so the tournament final is at Double or Nothing, and then the championship takes place at All In, I believe.
Yep.
So that means at Double or Nothing, you get Swerve. Like, who would... Okay, let's talk about this then. You have... Because this is where somebody's going to have to suffer a loss, right? Yeah. And this is why I'm going to tell you, I don't think Swerve wins at Dynasty. I think he should, but I don't think he will. But let's say he beats Jon Moxley at Dynasty. Swerve defends the belt against who at Double or Nothing?
I don't know. Who do you have him defended against?
I don't know. I'm asking you.
I mean, who's a person? Maybe you do something with the Death Riders. I don't know.
No, no. Hold on. Time out. At Dynasty, if the Death Riders ain't dead, if it's not dead, goodness gracious, buddy.
What's your definition of dead though? Like, do you just want it to immediately die?
Yes. Yeah, Jon Moxley gets rid of everybody and sticks around with Marina Shafir. That's it.
Okay.
He slaps the fuck out of everybody, and boom, you're out of here.
Yeah, so you have somebody go after the world championship, and to get that to die, Jon Moxley would have to get pissed at one of those people for going after the world championship without like his permission or something. I don't know. Very simple. You can't just have it die the next day.
Or does
And
AEW...
that wouldn't be good storytelling, like you say.
Sure, but does AEW at that point just have somebody else go up in the mix for like a tournament, another tournament that they do to crown a number one contender because they love doing that?
No, I think it's very simple. You could have like Claudio face for the title,
and then have him lose.
Yeah, you can have Claudio lose. Why couldn't you?
Tony fumbled. Tony fumbled.
But how would he fumble if he's getting a world championship shot?
Oh, he got a world championship shot in WWE too.
So yeah, okay.
Hey, I have a question for you. That strikes up a good point. Do you think Cesaro was utilized well in WWE, or better in WWE or AEW?
Obviously, I think Vince probably didn't do the best with him. I think he's kind of been underutilized in both companies. I'm not going to deny that, but I think if we're going to argue that he was fumbled in both. But overall,
I'm not saying
fumbled.
Hold on. I'm not saying fumbled. I'm just saying, which company do you think has done better with him?
Which company do I think has done better with him?
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at the 10 years that he was in WWE, right? Am I correct?
Something like that.
It might have been a little bit more. So we'll say 10 to 12 years. I think WWE probably utilized him better because there's a more longevity. He's been in AEW for what, a year? Or excuse me, not a year, 2, maybe.
3, 4, maybe?
No, it hasn't been that long.
Let's find out. I'm curious now.
Yeah.
$2023. Wow.
2023. So yeah, 2 years. So I mean, if you're going to go off a longevity of who's done better, yeah, WWE did. They had 12 years or 10, 12, whatever the number is, to do something with him. Yes, they probably did a lot better. But to say that somebody has fumbled, he's been on TV, right or wrong, right? Because we had that conversation.
He was utilized in both.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, from your standard and what you said yesterday, then technically, I mean, him going up for the world championship doesn't necessarily mean anything. You know, just because he hasn't been maybe utilized the way that you haven't wanted him to be utilized, or maybe some people haven't, doesn't mean that he's been quote unquote fumbled. There's not enough time yet to determine that. Yeah,
I think people are shocked by my answer. I think AEW has done better by him.
Fair. Yeah. You're allowed to think that.
Yeah, I think they've done better by him. I think they could do a lot better with him, but I do think I think Claudio being ROH champion at that time was really cool.
When he won it from Eddie.
Yeah, I thought that was cool stuff. I don't like him playing second fiddle though to Jon Moxley.
Again, that's my why you could have him go for the championship at Double or Nothing. And again, if you don't want a story to die immediately,
I do. The Death Rider thing sucks, but it sucks. But if it led to one more pay-per-view where Claudio like snuck his way into a world title match with Swerve,
yep. Mm-hmm.
I would be okay with it, but then Claudio would have to lose, which I don't like. But if Claudio were to lose and then like Jon Moxley with Marina Shafir would be fine, but I feel like they're wasting time with Pac and Claudio.
I agree. And I think after Dynasty they are going to be done with it, and I think this is the way you go about it, right? Because you're worried about somebody else taking a pinfall when simply you just want the Death Riders to just die immediately after. That's what you were pinning at. But now you're okay with it, which is cool. I'm glad because yes, you can't have a story just immediately die.
It's just you could.
It's bad storytelling.
You could. No, it's not bad storytelling. You could do it if you have the infamous white meat babyface go on the chase and kill them. Like, and I'm not saying physically kill them, but I'm saying kill the story off. Like he wins and then they disband. You do the angle where, like, for example, if Darby Allin were to sneak a win on Jon Moxley and Jon Moxley lost, you could have Jon Moxley snap on everybody and the Death Riders are done. He walks away from them, it's completely done. You could do that. But I don't think in this particular circumstance you can. It's different. With these circumstances, the way the story's been tied, I don't think you can necessarily just kill it off randomly now.
Right.
But I feel like they could have done it correctly. Like I said, there's just too many flaws with the Death Riders. There is too many.
Yeah, there was a lot. We can agree on that.
Shout out to Phil for the super chat, by the way.
Appreciate it, Phil.
And I think tomorrow will be the perfect time to do Dynasty predictions. I am excited about Dynasty. I think Dynasty is going to be a great show. I know some people in the chat are talking about Cope and FTR winning the Trios belts. I do want the Trios belts gone.
So do I. I mean, they've done horrible with those belts.
I don't think those belts are useful.
Yeah.
I know P Rocks is saying FTR is going to turn on Cope. I think that's a possibility. Who knows what they do with FTR? But the Trios belts have been useless on TV and
for a long time.
Like the tag team belts, like Big Bill and Brian Keith getting a tag title match is cool, but like they're probably not going to win. Again, I don't even want to talk about predictions just yet, but like that's where I kind of get a little upset with AEW because it's like, damn, bro, you got the Trios belts in the tag team division, you got guys in the tag team division who are holding the Trios belts. I just feel like, one thing that would be cool though, and I'm probably not gonna like talk about it too much, but I think Cope is just kind of boring to me, which is so sad because I love him. Like he's like
for sure. I know they want to do him and Christian as a tag team eventually.
Yeah,
so I think that'll probably be something that they do.
Yeah, they gotta do something different with him. So maybe get away from the FTR thing and let that be a story for a little bit, and then FTR versus Cage and Adam Copeland. But it's just so weird because then it's like all the stuff that Christian did to Adam Copeland. Why would you forgive him?
Again, that's a sympathy thing, brother.
Yeah, that's
you and your brother go to hell and back sometimes, and you guys beef it out. Shit happens.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sometimes. Again, you're allowed to forgive and forget.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, I'm not feeling that, but that's just my opinion. I'm not saying my opinion is everybody's opinion or whatever. I'm not saying it's the right opinion. I'm just saying that's kind of how I feel about it. You can't ignore the past, and I think that's one thing that I love about WWE programming that really made Triple H a really good booker, in my opinion, was like things that happened in the past do have a trickle down effect upon things in the future, and we saw that with Sammy and Owens. We saw that with so many different things across their TV show. And I just wish that AEW got a little bit better with that. And I'm not saying they can't fix it, right? Like with Christian and Edge, like you can do a long-term storyline of them working together.
Eventually, yeah.
But then you got to break away from the patriarchy, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
you got to do it. You got to tell the story, but the thing is, I don't think they've really prepared that just yet. So we'll see how they have to do that.
Well, that 1 week they did the thing with the patriarchy where
Nick Wayne and Christian went face to face, but then literally the following weekend, patriarchy were helping the Death Riders.
I don't know. I guess we'll see.
You know what I'm saying?
That's Christian wasn't involved in that.
No, but they didn't tell the story of Christian not being involved in it, which is the problem. They were representing the patriarchy. That's what I'm saying. You just got to fill the holes, fill the gap, But that's just kind of how I feel about that. I do want to switch gears to something that is not being discussed. So we can discuss this. And if you guys have any more super chats or anything you guys want to get in, go ahead and get those in now, or become a member or anything like that. Tip link is in the description as well. I think we should have a conversation. Yesterday we got the news that Miro Rusev has re-signed with the company.
Yep.
So yeah, we got the news. Miro re-signed with WWE. A lot of people have been kind of wondering exactly what's going to happen with CJ Perry, aka Lana. Now, just a little bit of a history lesson for those who are unaware, because we don't talk about this often on the channel because it revolves around people's personal lives. We don't really care to talk about it, but it does actually play effect into what could potentially be going down with WWE. So for those who are unaware, Lana, CJ Perry, and Rusev separated a while ago.
Yes.
Then recently, news came out once Miro was released from the company or whatever. It came out, TMZ covered it. They renewed their vows and they're back together. Now, fast forward to April 2nd, 2025, it comes out that WWE and Miro, Rusev, were at the headquarters and they signed the contract. They have him returning to the company.
Okay.
However, it comes out today that CJ Perry, aka Lana, is not expected to join the company. Multiple sources are talking about it. PW Insider also made it very clear she was not with him. Meltzer's chimed in. Other sources have chimed in. basically the impression going around is that she is not set to return to WWE. She could potentially return to WWE at some point, but as of this time, there is no plan for her to return to WWE. So let's have this conversation, and I think this might become a very good conversation and a healthy conversation, hopefully. But
he said hopefully.
I say hopefully because Billy's been a little hot and bothered lately. But hey, that's okay. So
Bothered is crazy. Never bothered.
No, I'm messing around. I'm just joking. But like, I do think we should have this conversation. One, where does Miro fit in current day WWE? And when I ask that question, Billy, just keep in mind, Aleister Black's coming back. That's been confirmed. Ray Phoenix is joining SmackDown. Ricky Starks joined the company. There's been a lot of additions to the company. So currently, as it stands, not, we know of the people coming in.
Yeah.
What is your reaction?
Take all of that out.
Yeah.
So when it comes down to Rusev and where he belongs, I think it's on SmackDown. I think SmackDown can kind of need all the help that they can get. I definitely wouldn't put him in NXT. I definitely wouldn't put him on Raw. So I think the perfect fit would be on SmackDown, kind of like you've done with Ray Phoenix, Aleister Black, and now it could potentially be him, because you have to understand that SmackDown is a 3-hour show, and we've been complaining about filling those gaps. Here is your opportunity. Here is your chance. We have Ray Phoenix. We have Aleister Black. Now we're going to have Rusev. I think overall it fits better over on SmackDown rather than it does anywhere else. So that's kind of what I would like to see out of it. But yeah, that's my reaction to it is just like, wow, you know what I mean? Very excited, very happy to see him involved. People talk about CJ Perry or Lana rejoining the company. I think the reason why she's probably not rejoining the company is because we have conversations like this. That's just personal thought, right? Because there's always something, and then people, and I'm not saying you and I are having these discussions, but they talk about the personal things in their lives and things of that nature, and that often creates backlash on that person, because then people want to figure out why. Even in my chat yesterday, I figured out so many breakups and people were together. I didn't even know people knew these things, so kind of insane to me. So I think that's probably a reason why she's just kind of taking a step back, right? It's happy to just, hey, we're back together. I'm gonna stay out of the spotlight. Let him do his thing. At the end of the day, he's the winner here. He's going to go on, and he's going to be. Now we don't know if he'll be Rusev, Miro, whatever the case is, the Redeemer, whatever. He'll go on and he'll do that. But I genuinely think like that's like a big reason on why. A lot of the times, like even we can use AJ Lee as an example, necessarily why she doesn't come back, because they have so many ties to their spouses, right? And oftentimes that creates a lot of backlash if they do anything wrong. And I think that's crappy, me personally, right? Now, I'm not saying that that's 100% the case here, and I'm not saying that that's why, but I'm saying that that's, again, a real life thing that, people can go off of.
So let me ask you then. Do you think Rusev can be successful with the climate that WWE is currently in, with the roster they currently have? Do you think Rusev could stand out and be successful without Lana and without Aiden English?
For sure. Absolutely.
Okay.
I do. I genuinely feel like he is one of those guys. I mean, we've seen what AEW was trying to do with the Redeemer gimmick, right? Mm-hmm. It's not like this guy isn't able to get over. You know what I mean? He doesn't necessarily need anybody. Do you remember when he went into AEW and he cut that promo talking about the brass ring?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a very good promo, wasn't it, or was it not? Of
course.
Yeah, so this guy, he knows what he's doing and he knows how to do it. So I don't see a world where he couldn't get over and people are already going to push him as quote unquote over because they just want to see him come back from AEW. Right? They just want to see him back in the WWE ring to say like, oh my God, look at what we have now. So ultimately that's just going to put him on that like really good scale with WWE. It's the same with what they're doing with Phoenix. It's what they did with Penta. It's what they, I'm not even going to say they did it with Ricky Starks, because Ricky Starks, I mean, they just brought that guy over. But it's what they're even doing with Aleister Black, like they're just going to kind of get put on this pedestal, where they're already over and they're back in the company. Andrade was another guy that they did it for, but he returned at the Royal Rumble, I think. I'm just kind of rambling on here, trying to remember things. But overall, I think he's just automatically put on that pedestal.
I am actually a little bit more skeptical than you are, actually. I think I'm a little bit worried where Rusev fits. Because I do think SmackDown has now solved the problem with their mid-card. And I think, as you've heard throughout many streams that we've done together, I've mentioned very specifically the idea of like, okay, Aleister Black should be a world champion. Andrade could be a world champion. These guys can all elevate from the mid card to the world championship. And I do find it a little bit more frustrating because then it's like Rusev is a guy who I feel like could break that ceiling and become a world champion. But I do think they need to bring Lana back in order for that to happen. And I actually will disagree with you on one thing. I don't know if I would send Rusev to SmackDown. I would actually send Rusev to whatever brand will have the World Heavyweight Championship, and that's what matters. And there's a reason for that. I kind of wanted to explain. Throughout the last several months, we have talked about, okay, Jey Uso wins the World Heavyweight Championship, Sami Zayn wins the belt from him and turns heel, and they do that whole thing. I want the World Heavyweight Championship to be the belt that is there every single week, a fighting competitor who's holding it down. And I think for somebody like Aleister Black or Miro or, you know, some of these guys that are like really, really good, but they're in the mid card, I think in order for them to go for a world title, it has to be for the belt that is the World Heavyweight Championship. Because the Cody thing is clearly long-term planned. I think with the World Heavyweight Championship, there is a little bit more flexibility.
You have a little bit more of an open schedule.
And so I think I would like the World Heavyweight Championship, whatever belt that is going to be on after the draft, that's where Rusev should be. And what I would do is at some point in 2026, you know, you could have Rusev win the Intercontinental Championship, but the kind of push that you've given Gunther is exactly what I would want for Rusev. And
that's fair. I don't hate that.
Yeah, and I think in order for that to work properly, I think you made a really good point in yesterday's stream where it's like, hey, Gunther could lose to Jey Uso at WrestleMania. We both said it, right? Ludwig Kaiser goes up on Raw and laughs at Gunther. They split up. Yep. Now you get Gunther out of the World Championship picture with Rusev eventually, and I say eventually, if he were to get into the world title picture with Lana by his side, I think there would be a lot of credibility by having that villainous, you know, that foreign villain that WWE loves, that little trope that WWE and pro wrestling has always had forever. It's like, you're a foreigner, you're the villain, Rusev. I don't want to see Rusev as a babyface. I want to see Lana go out there, crush, you know. I want to see them bring a whole different meaning to Rusev Day. And so I think it would be really cool if you were to have Rusev go after the World Heavyweight Championship at some point. And I do think he is capable of being a champion, but I don't think currently as it stands, because that's how we're talking, current climate of WWE, I don't know if he can get there being on SmackDown when you have Aleister Black and Jacob Fatu, who both should be United States champions at some point, right? And I think you could even argue Rey Fenix as well. With the Intercontinental Championship currently as it stands, there's a lot of guys who can hold it, but the good news is if Rusev were to get the Intercontinental Championship, you can always do something where he's basically unbeatable. And by the way, I want to see the Redeemer version of him. Like what we saw in AEW. Yeah, we didn't get to see enough of it in AEW, but when we saw it, it was awesome. So I want to see that version mixed in with Lana and Rusev Day. And I think you put him in the mix. You let him have some matches with Sheamus. You have him do some matches with, you know, all the guys. Braun Breaker, cool.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say, though, that's really nice about Miro coming back is the fact that there are going to be some very cool matchups now because the climate has changed with the roster. But the fact that Lana is not going to be there is super interesting. And I do think she is relatively needed. So at some point, maybe what you do with Rusev is you have him come in. And this is like a little fun fantasy booking thing, and you can respond, Billy. But I think it would be kind of cool that if Rusev came in, you do the whole big babyface thing for a short period of time, and then Lana randomly comes out during the match and reminds Rusev, like, this isn't who you are. Rusev crush, and then he does the heel turn and he goes back to, you know.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Just something like that where it's random, because you don't need to bring her in right away. But at some point, I do think she's going to be necessary.
I would like that. That'd be cool. That'd be a really interesting way to take it.
Yeah.
Not a hater on that.
It kind of sucks because I felt like he should have been a bigger deal in AEW. I really do. I will always say him and Andrade should have been way bigger deal.
Yep, we can agree there.
So that'll be interesting. But yeah, Lana's not coming to WWE apparently, and we'll see what happens there. Sometimes I even forget that she was in AEW because it was so short-lived.
So short-lived, right?
But managers in wrestling are cool. I'm always going to advocate for them. Definitely an advocate for managers. So I would like to see that. Hopefully it happens. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. But as of now, it's not happening.
We'll see.
Yeah. We got another super chat. MN dropped $1.99. He says, "Is Lana not coming back because of OF?" Does Lana do OF? I don't think she does, bro.
I was about to say, people knew that? Again, this is what I'm talking about. How do people know that shit?
Wrestling, I feel bad for wrestlers, bro, because we don't really tend to. I know I don't. I stay away from talking about the personal stuff, but.
Me too.
I don't think she does OF. There's nothing on her Instagram bio that suggests so.
Okay, well, there's that.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't think so, but you never know.
Never know.
I feel like people would have been talking about it if she was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been a conversation.
And if she did, yeah, WWE ain't messing with that.
No, they're not.
So, yeah, I think that's
Is that all she wrote?
I think that's all she wrote, man. I don't know. I think that's it.
What were you gonna say about me?
Nothing.
Oh, okay.
Why?
Maybe I am a little feisty. Maybe I am a little.
You are being a little feisty. I don't think you can handle a joke, to be honest.
Maybe I don't like that you disagree with me so much. I don't know.
Well, I don't like the fact that you cut me off all the time, but that's a conversation for maybe off camera.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll discuss that.
Yeah, I think so. I think we will discuss that.
Yeah. Oh, this guy.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to end it there. Another fun episode. Silly Billy being silly yet again. And your boy Ango.
Whatever.
Your boy Ango.
Schmango Ango.
Mango, Ango, Tango, Django. I don't know. I was just going to make up a whole bunch of words. I don't know what else rhymes with Ango. Tango with Ango, baby. Yeah, shout out to Billy. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe to him at BillyTKO. And anything else you want to say, buddy? You've sure had a lot to say today. Anything else?
Oh, no. We'll have what? We're going over predictions tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah, you see him in the chat.
Yeah. Okay, cool. We'll be back for predictions tomorrow. And
you know who they're rooting for. You see it.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the love. Thank you for everything. We'll see you guys next time.
Peace.